The Council's arrogance. The Grand Hall of the Galactic Council gleamed with cold silver light. Towering figures of various alien species sat in their ornate seats, their eyes fixed on the small human standing in the center of the chamber. Earth's representative, Ambassador Daniel Reed, stood alone, dwarfed by the Council's grandeur. His voice was steady, though the weight of his mission was evident in his clenched fists. "Earth cannot sustain your demands," Daniel declared, his gaze unwavering as he addressed the assembly. "Your exploitation of our planet has pushed us to the brink. I'm here to demand that you cease all resource extractions immediately." The chamber erupted into a cacophony of laughter. The sound echoed from every corner, a mixture of guttural growls, hissing, and mocking chirps. The towering figure of Chancellor Varen, the leader of the council, leaned forward. His elongated face, adorned with bioluminescent markings, twisted into a smirk. "Demand." Varen's voice was sharp, dripping with condescension. "Your species is fortunate to even sit here, Ambassador Reed. Humanity's value lies in what it can provide, nothing more." Daniel's jaw tightened, but he stood his ground. "We may not have the technology or fleets you do, Chancellor, but we have something you underestimate: our determination. Earth will not be your mine." The laughter resumed, louder this time. A smaller alien, a snake-like creature with glittering scales, slithered forward. "Your determination is irrelevant. The Council has spoken. Earth will comply, or you will face the consequences." Daniel glanced around the room. The dismissive smirks, the overconfidence, it was clear they had no intention of listening. His heart pounded, but he kept his voice calm. "You're making a mistake. Humanity has endured countless challenges. You won't mock us when the retaliation begins." Varen's smirk faded for a moment, replaced by a flicker of annoyance. He waved a clawed hand dismissively. "Enough. Your threats are as empty as your planet's defenses. This session is over." Daniel's time was up. He turned and walked out of the chamber, the mocking laughter of the council following him like a shadow. But as he stepped into the dim corridor outside, his expression changed. Gone was the restraint. Now his eyes burned with determination. In Earth's shadow. Back on Earth, the reality of the situation was dire. The Council's mining operations had drained oceans, leveled forests, and left entire regions uninhabitable. Humanity had protested for years, but their voices had been drowned out by the Council's might. In an underground facility, beneath the ruins of an abandoned city, a secret meeting was underway. Scientists, engineers, and military strategists from around the world gathered around a holographic table. At the head of the table stood General Elena Torres, a decorated officer with a reputation for bold strategies. "The Council thinks we're weak," she began, her voice cutting through the murmurs. "They think we'll roll over and accept our fate. But they're wrong. We've been preparing for this day for years." She pressed a button on the console, and the hologram shifted to display a fleet of ships. These weren't ordinary vessels. They were hybrids, crafted from human ingenuity and salvaged alien technology. "Our retaliation fleet," Elena continued, her tone firm. "Built in secret, using what scraps we've gathered from the Council's leftovers. It's not much, but it's enough to send a message." A young engineer raised his hand. "General, even with these ships, how can we stand against the Council's might? They have entire armadas." Elena's gaze hardened. "We don't need to match their numbers. We just need to show them that humanity won't be broken. We'll strike where they least expect it, and we'll make them question their superiority." The room fell silent as her words sank in. The first warning. Meanwhile, aboard a Council surveillance station orbiting Earth, a team of alien analysts monitored the planet's activity. Most days, it was a dull task. Humans were predictable, after all. Resilient, yes, but ultimately powerless against the Council's dominance. But today was different. "Commander, we're detecting unusual energy signatures from Earth's surface," one of the analysts reported. The station's commander, a reptilian creature with a crest of vibrant feathers, approached the console. "What kind of signatures?" "It's strange. It doesn't match any known Earth technology." The commander frowned. "Continue monitoring. Inform the Council if anything significant develops." The calm before the storm. Back on Earth, Daniel Reed arrived at the hidden facility, his face weary but resolute. He stepped into the command center, where General Torres greeted him with a firm handshake. "They didn't listen, did they?" she asked. "No," Daniel replied. "But that's exactly what we expected. They think we're no threat." Elena smirked. "Good. That overconfidence will be their downfall." As the room buzzed with activity, Daniel looked at the hologram of the fleet. It wasn't much compared to the Council's forces, but it represented something far more powerful: humanity's unyielding spirit. "We've faced extinction before," Daniel said quietly, "but we've always found a way to survive. This time won't be any different." The facility hummed with anticipation. The first move was theirs to make, and the Council wouldn't see it coming. The retaliation plan. The underground facility buzzed with energy as engineers, scientists, and military strategists worked tirelessly on Earth's most ambitious project. The retaliation fleet, hidden beneath layers of abandoned cities, far from the prying eyes of the Galactic Council, humanity's greatest minds had gathered for one purpose: to strike back. General Elena Torres stood at the command console, her sharp eyes scanning the holographic projection of Earth's defenses. Next to her, Dr. Adrian Malik, the lead engineer, adjusted his glasses nervously. "Are we sure this will work?" Malik asked, his voice tinged with doubt. "We're reverse engineering alien technology we barely understand. One mistake, and these ships could blow up before they even leave the atmosphere." Elena turned to him, her expression unyielding. "We don't have the luxury of perfection, Doctor. The Council has stripped Earth bare. If we wait any longer, there won't be an Earth to save." The hybrid ships. The centerpiece of their plan was the hybrid fleet, ships built from a mix of human ingenuity and salvaged alien tech. Each vessel was a patchwork of Earth's industrial might, and components scavenged from crashed Council ships. In one of the assembly bays, Lieutenant Sarah Lynn supervised a team of technicians installing a powerful energy core into a sleek black ship. The core, a glowing orb of pulsating blue light, was alien in origin, salvaged from a derelict Council scout vessel. "This thing still gives me the creeps," one technician muttered, glancing nervously at the core. "What if it's unstable?" Sarah smirked. "Then we're all in for a very short ride. But if it works, it'll make these ships faster and deadlier than anything the Council expects." Her confidence steadied the team. They worked with precision, knowing that every bolt tightened and wire connected brought humanity one step closer to survival. A risky test. As the first prototype ship, Erebus, neared completion, Elena made the call for a test flight. The room fell silent as the announcement echoed through the facility. "It's too soon," Malik protested. "We haven't run all the simulations. What if it malfunctions?" Elena's voice was calm but firm. "If we wait for everything to be perfect, we'll never act. We need to know what these ships are capable of. And so does the Council." The Erebus was wheeled onto a massive launch pad, its sleek, dark frame glinting under the dim lights. A hand-picked pilot, Captain James Kieran, climbed aboard, his face a mask of determination. "Captain, are you ready?" Elena's voice crackled through the comms. "Ready as I'll ever be," Kieran replied, gripping the controls. As the countdown began, tension filled the control room. Engineers monitored every system, sweat beading on their foreheads. 3, 2, 1, launch. The Erebus shot into the sky, leaving a trail of blue energy in its wake. For a moment, it was like nothing else mattered. Humanity's dream of fighting back was no longer just a dream. It was real. Unseen eyes. But their triumph didn't go unnoticed. A Council spy, embedded in Earth's outer colonies, had intercepted fragments of the facility's communications. The alien, a wiry figure with skin that shimmered like liquid silver, uploaded the data to the Council's intelligence network. From his hidden vantage point, the spy activated a transmitter. They're building something. Something powerful. The Council must know. Backlash and doubts. In the facility, the Erebus returned safely, its systems functioning better than anyone had dared hope. Cheers erupted as Kieran stepped out of the cockpit, a triumphant grin on his face. "She's a beauty," he said, patting the ship's hull. "Fast, responsive, and packs a hell of a punch." The celebration was short-lived. Dr. Malik pulled Elena aside, his face pale. "General, the energy core output spiked during the flight. It stabilized, but if that spike happens in combat, it could overload." Elena frowned. "How long do we have to fix it?" "Not long," Malik admitted. "We're cutting corners to stay ahead of the Council. It's only a matter of time before they discover what we're doing." The Council reacts. In the Galactic Council's central chamber, the spy's message was played before Chancellor Varen and his advisors. The room grew tense as they listened to the intercepted transmission. "They've built a fleet," one advisor said, his voice filled with disbelief. "How? Earth doesn't have the resources for this." Varen's expression darkened. "It seems we've underestimated humanity's resourcefulness. Prepare a task force to investigate. If Earth truly has these ships, they must be destroyed before they become a threat." Earth prepares. Back on Earth, Elena called an emergency meeting. The room buzzed with urgency as she addressed the team. "The Council knows," she said bluntly. "We don't know how much they've learned, but we can't wait for them to act. We need to strike first." Her words hung in the air like a challenge. Daniel Reed, who had just returned from his failed diplomatic mission, stepped forward. "They laughed at us," he said, his voice steady. "They think we're weak. But we've always thrived under pressure. This is our moment to prove them wrong." Elena nodded. "Then it's settled. We launch the first offensive at dawn. Let's show the galaxy what humanity is capable of." The room erupted into activity as everyone prepared for the coming battle. Humanity was no longer on the defensive. The retaliation plan was in motion. The moonlit sky over Earth's hidden facility was eerily calm as humanity prepared for its boldest move. Inside the command center, General Elena Torres stood at the head of a holographic map. It displayed a Council patrol fleet stationed near Earth's outer colonies, a perfect target for humanity's first strike. "This isn't just about hitting them hard," Elena said, her voice steady but intense. "It's about sending a message. The Galactic Council needs to know that humanity will not be trampled." Around the room, the team nodded in agreement. The plan was simple but risky. Ambush the patrol fleet, cripple their defenses, and retreat before reinforcements could arrive. The launch. The hybrid fleet, now battle-ready, was stationed underground, hidden from prying eyes. The lead ship, Erebus, was flanked by two smaller but equally lethal ships, Vanguard and Spearhead. Captain James Kieran, now promoted to squadron leader, stood in the Erebus's command deck. His crew buzzed with nervous energy as the countdown to launch began. "All right, team," Kieran said, his voice calm despite the tension. "This is it. Our first strike. Let's show the Council what Earth is made of." The ships roared to life, their engines humming with the combined power of human and alien technology. In seconds, they shot into the sky, disappearing into the cold void of space. The ambush. The Council patrol fleet consisted of 3 cruisers and a dozen smaller fighters, idling near the edge of the Sol system. Their commander, a stoic alien named Ralacor, stared at the empty expanse of space through his ship's viewport. "Humans are too primitive to mount any serious resistance," Ralacor said to his second-in-command. "This is a waste of resources." Just as he finished speaking, the Erebus decloaked behind the largest cruiser, its cannons primed and ready. "Fire," Kieran barked. A barrage of plasma beams and missiles struck the cruiser's engines, sending the massive ship spiraling out of control. Before the patrol fleet could react, the Vanguard and Spearhead emerged from stealth, unleashing a coordinated assault on the smaller fighters. Chaos in the fleet. Inside the patrol fleet, panic erupted. The humans' cloaking technology had caught them completely off guard. Ralcor shouted orders, but his crew struggled to respond to the relentless attack. "Focus fire on their lead ship," he roared. The Council's fighters swarmed the Erebus, but the hybrid ship's advanced shields held firm. Kieran's crew retaliated with pinpoint accuracy, picking off enemy fighters one by one. "This is for Earth," Kieran muttered under his breath as he fired another volley. An unexpected counterattack. As the humans pressed their advantage, Ralcor activated a hidden weapon, a massive energy pulse designed to disable enemy ships. "Detonate the EMP," he ordered. A bright pulse of energy rippled through space, knocking out the shields of the Vanguard and Spearhead. The two ships drifted helplessly as enemy fighters closed in. On the Erebus, alarms blared as Kieran's crew scrambled to adapt. "Shields down," shouted the tactical officer. "They're targeting the Vanguard." Kieran's jaw tightened. "Redirect all power to weapons. We're not letting them take our people." The Erebus surged forward, intercepting the enemy fighters with devastating firepower. The turning point. Inside the Vanguard, Lieutenant Sarah Lynn struggled to restore power. Sparks flew from damaged consoles as her team worked frantically. "We're sitting ducks out here," one technician yelled. "Not for long," Sarah replied, her voice calm despite the chaos. "Reroute auxiliary power to the engines. Even a little thrust will get us back in the fight." As the Vanguard sputtered back to life, the Erebus and Spearhead formed a protective perimeter, buying time for the fleet to recover. Victory and a warning. The battle ended as quickly as it had begun. The Council fleet, crippled and outmaneuvered, was forced to retreat. The Erebus fired a final salvo, ensuring their enemies wouldn't forget this encounter. Back on the command deck, Kieran leaned back in his chair, exhaling deeply. "Mission accomplished," he said, his voice tinged with exhaustion. "Let's head home." As the hybrid fleet returned to Earth, the message was clear. Humanity was no longer a passive victim. They had struck first, and the galaxy was about to learn what they were capable of. The Council reacts. In the Galactic Council chamber, the news of the ambush sent shockwaves through the assembly. Chancellor Varen slammed his fist on the table, his face a mask of anger. "How could a primitive species cripple one of our patrols?" he demanded. An advisor hesitated before replying. "They've adapted our technology, Chancellor. They're more advanced than we anticipated." Varen's eyes narrowed. "Prepare the fleet. If Earth wants a war, we'll give them one they'll never forget." The Galactic Council wasted no time responding to Earth's bold first strike. Across dozens of star systems, fleets mobilized. Warships were recalled from distant posts, and reinforcements gathered at staging points. The Council's goal was clear: to crush Earth's rebellion before it could spread. The Council's mobilization. In the vast central command hub of the Galactic Council, Chancellor Varen addressed a gathering of senior commanders. "This insubordination will not stand," he declared, his voice echoing in the chamber. "Humanity's insolence must be met with overwhelming force. Let this serve as a reminder to all that defiance against the Council is futile." The room erupted in agreement. Fleet Admiral Lirith, an imposing figure with a reputation for ruthless efficiency, was placed in charge of the operation. "I'll personally oversee the invasion," Lirith said. "We'll strike their homeworld and eradicate their resistance." Earth's preparations. Back on Earth, the mood was tense but determined. In the underground command bunker, General Elena Torres studied the latest intelligence reports. The Council's fleet was assembling faster than anticipated, and their numbers were staggering. "We're outnumbered, outgunned, and outresourced," Elena admitted during a briefing. "But we have the element of surprise and the will to survive." That's something they can't replicate. Captain James Kieran, fresh from the ambush victory, stood by her side. "We need to make them bleed for every inch," he said. "If they want Earth, they'll pay a price they'll never forget." The battle begins. Days later, the Council fleet arrived at the edge of the Sol system. Thousands of warships, from massive dreadnoughts to nimble fighters, formed a seemingly unstoppable armada. Admiral Lirath stood on the bridge of his flagship, a colossal battleship named Dominion. "Commence the advance," he ordered, his tone icy. As the fleet moved closer to Earth, they encountered a surprise, a minefield of advanced cloaked explosives. Detonations rocked the vanguard, destroying dozens of ships and forcing the fleet to slow its approach. "What is this?" Lirath growled. "The humans are playing games." Earth's defense fleet. While the minefield bought time, Earth's hybrid fleet prepared to engage. The Erebus, Vanguard, and Spearhead were joined by newly completed warships, each outfitted with cutting-edge technology scavenged from alien wrecks. On the Erebus, Kieran addressed his crew. "This is it, people," he said, his voice calm but firm. "The Council thinks they can crush us. Let's show them how wrong they are." The fleet surged forward, meeting the Council armada head-on. Fury in the stars. The battle was chaos. Plasma beams and missiles streaked across the void, lighting up the darkness with deadly brilliance. Earth's fleet fought with unmatched ferocity. Using advanced cloaking and hit-and-run tactics, they punched above their weight, striking key targets and retreating before the Council could retaliate. On the Erebus, Kieran coordinated the attacks. "Target their carriers," he commanded. "If we take out their support, their fighters will scatter." The Vanguard and Spearhead executed the maneuver flawlessly, crippling 2 Council carriers and sending debris spiraling into the void. A desperate move. Admiral Lirath, watching the tide of battle turn, decided to escalate. "Activate the planetary disruptor," he ordered. The Dominion unleashed a devastating weapon, a massive energy beam aimed directly at Earth's surface. The ground trembled as cities were evacuated and defenses scrambled to intercept the blast. On Earth, General Torres clenched her fists as the weapon charged. "We need a countermeasure," she said urgently. Her scientists worked feverishly, using reverse-engineered Council tech to activate Earth's planetary shield. Moments before the disruptor struck, a shimmering barrier enveloped the planet, absorbing the attack. The cost of war. Though Earth survived the initial assault, the battle came at a heavy cost. Several hybrid ships were lost, and countless lives were sacrificed to hold the line. On the Erebus, Kieran stared at the destruction around him. "This isn't over," he muttered. "They've thrown everything at us, and we're still standing." Back on the Dominion, Admiral Lirath seethed with frustration. The humans had proven far more resourceful than he had anticipated. "We'll regroup," he said to his officers. "This is just the beginning." The dust of battle still lingered in space as both sides regrouped for the next phase of the war. While the Galactic Council's fleet had suffered significant losses, Earth had not emerged unscathed. Humanity's ability to withstand such an overwhelming assault shocked the galaxy, and the Council was more determined than ever to break their resistance. The Council's fury. In the Grand Council chamber, Chancellor Varen seethed with rage as he reviewed the reports of the failed invasion. Earth's defenses had outperformed every expectation, and their fleet had struck back with terrifying precision. His patience was running thin. "Enough of these half-hearted attacks," Varen growled. "We will crush Earth, once and for all. Send for Lirath." Fleet Admiral Lirath appeared before the Chancellor, his expression unreadable. "The humans are proving more resilient than we thought," Lirath said, his voice steely. "But we will break them. I have a new plan, one that will force them into submission." Lirath's eyes gleamed with cold calculation. "We'll destroy their ability to fight. It's time for Earth's resources to be wiped from existence. A new weapon on Earth." Back on Earth, General Elena Torres and Captain James Kieran studied the latest intelligence from their scouts. The Council wasn't backing down. Reinforcements had arrived, and their forces were now more formidable than before. But Earth had something the Council didn't know about, an ancient weapon hidden deep within the planet's core. "Elena, we have to use it," Kieran said, his voice low but filled with conviction. "I don't like it," Elena replied, her fingers tracing the map on the holoscreen. "It's risky. It's never been tested in battle, and the consequences could be catastrophic." Kieran stared at her, unwavering. "We don't have a choice. The Council won't stop until they've destroyed everything we've built. This is the only way we can turn the tide in our favor." The weapon, known only as the Heart of Earth, was a massive ancient device, left by an unknown civilization long before humanity had risen. It had the power to manipulate the fabric of space itself, capable of creating devastating shockwaves or warping reality to strike at distant targets with unimaginable force. The plan to activate the heart. With no time to waste, Earth's top scientists and engineers worked feverishly to unlock the secrets of the heart. The device, buried beneath a mountain range for centuries, had always been a mystery, but now it was their only hope. Kieran, along with a specialized strike team, was tasked with infiltrating the facility and activating the weapon. Elena would remain behind to coordinate the rest of the fleet. The operation was risky. If anything went wrong, the weapon could turn on them, rendering Earth defenseless. But they had no other choice. The attack on the Council's flagship. While Earth's fleet engaged the Council's forces in a desperate defense of the planet, Kieran's team made their way into the heart of Earth's secret facility. Tension ran high as they navigated through dark, twisting corridors, the air thick with the weight of their mission. Kieran's voice crackled over the comms. "Almost there. Stay sharp, team." As they entered the final chamber, a massive door creaked open, revealing the Heart of Earth. The device hummed with strange energy, an eerie light emanating from its core. "Begin the sequence," Kieran ordered. Their engineers worked quickly, inputting commands into the ancient console. But just as the device began to power up, an alarm blared. "The Council found us," one of the engineers shouted. Outside the chamber, Council forces had arrived, sending waves of soldiers to retake the facility. "We don't have time for this," Kieran shouted. "Activate the weapon now." The heart awakens. In the command room of the Dominion, Admiral Lirath watched as the humans' fleet engaged in a battle for their survival. But he knew something wasn't right. The humans were too organized, too determined. There had to be a hidden weapon, something that could change the course of this war. As the first shockwave from the heart rippled through space, Lirath's face went pale. "What in the galaxy is that?" he murmured. A second shockwave followed, and the Dominion shuddered. Reports flooded in from all over the fleet. Ships were being torn apart, their systems scrambled by the waves of energy that seemed to tear at the very fabric of space. "The humans have unleashed their trump card," Lirath realized. The shocking power of the heart. The shockwaves from the heart spread across the Sol system, causing massive distortion in the space-time continuum. Council ships, unable to withstand the sudden strain on their systems, were pulled into a localized black hole that had formed in the wake of the shockwaves. Several warships vanished without a trace. In the chaos, Earth's fleet rallied, pushing the remaining Council forces back. Kieran, back on the surface, watched the skies above as the battle raged on. His face was grim, but a faint smile tugged at the corners of his lips. "We're not done yet, but we just got a hell of an advantage." The Council reconsiders. Admiral Lirath stood in the remains of the Dominion, his eyes dark with the weight of failure. His fleet had been decimated, and their might was no longer enough to bring Earth to its knees. "They've weaponized the heart," Lirath muttered. "We can't win this war. Not anymore." Back in the Council chamber, Chancellor Varen slammed his fist onto the table. "Then we make Earth understand that even with this new weapon, they are still nothing compared to the might of the Galactic Council," he growled. "We'll adapt, and we'll destroy them, no matter the cost." The devastating shockwaves from the heart of Earth had shaken the Galactic Council to its core. Entire fleets were crippled, and once proud warships drifted helplessly in space, vulnerable to further assault. Earth had taken its first major victory, but the battle was far from over. The Council was reeling, but their pride would not let them surrender. The Council's desperation. In the depths of the Galactic Council's command center, Chancellor Varen paced back and forth. The reports were catastrophic. Earth had turned the tide of war with a single weapon, and the galaxy was now uncertain of the Council's once absolute dominance. "Are we supposed to just retreat?" one of his advisors asked, fear evident in his voice. "We can't let Earth keep pushing us back like this." "No," Varen snapped, his eyes narrowed with fury. "We will not retreat. We'll bring every resource we have to bear. Earth's weapon is powerful, but it has limits. We just need to find it and destroy it." Fleet Admiral Lirath stood nearby, silent but seething with rage. He had lost too much. His fleets were broken, but he wasn't about to give up. "We'll attack Earth directly," Lirath said, his voice cold and determined. "If we strike at the heart of their homeworld, they'll have no choice but to surrender." The final assault. The Galactic Council began to mobilize its last-ditch effort. Hundreds of warships, including the Council's elite strike fleets, were assembled and sent toward Earth. It was a desperate move, but with the heart of Earth still posing a threat, they believed this would be their only chance to regain control. On Earth, General Elena Torres knew the Council was coming. Their fleet had retreated temporarily, but it was clear that their assault wasn't over. Earth's defenses were stretched thin after the first battle, but they had no intention of backing down. "We have one shot at this," Elena said, her voice steady but filled with resolve. "If we can hold them off long enough, we might just win this war." Kieran, standing beside her, nodded. "We won't let them destroy Earth. We'll fight until the last ship is standing." The human fleet's resolve. The Earth fleet had been battered but was far from broken. The remaining ships, though fewer in number, had grown stronger and more cohesive, relying on unconventional tactics learned from their first encounters with the Council. Cloaked ships, hidden mines, and guerrilla tactics had become Earth's new way of war. Captain Kieran's voice rang out across the comms as they prepared for the impending attack. "We're not giving them an inch. We'll hit them where they least expect it. For Earth." With that, the battle began. Earth's fleet surged forward, using the environment to their advantage. They knew the Council's fleet would try to overwhelm them with sheer numbers, but the humans had something the Council didn't: unity, creativity, and an unshakable will to survive. The battle at Earth's gates. As the Council fleet arrived at Earth's outer defenses, Admiral Lirath's warships formed a massive blockade. Earth's fleet moved into position, prepared for an all-out confrontation. The tension in space was palpable as both sides awaited the inevitable clash. Lirath's voice echoed across his fleet. "Remember, this is the final strike. We crush them, and we end this rebellion for good." But as the first wave of Council ships advanced, they were met with a devastating surprise. Earth's ships, hidden behind cloaks and asteroid fields, launched a sudden, overwhelming counterattack. The initial strike was aimed at the Council's command ships, taking down critical communications and disorienting their forces. Kieran's ship, the Erebus, led the charge, cutting through the Council's lines like a knife through butter. "This is for our people," he shouted over the comms as the Erebus tore through enemy ships. The fall of the Council's fleet. The battle raged for hours, with Earth's fleet pushing back against the Council's relentless assault. Despite their superior numbers, the Council's ships were disorganized and caught off guard by the ingenuity of Earth's forces. Lirath watched in disbelief as his flagship, Dominion, came under attack. Earth's cloaked ships hit them from all directions, striking with deadly precision. The once mighty fleet began to fracture, as ship after ship was taken out. The Dominion itself was slowly crippled by hit-and-run attacks. "We cannot win this," Lirith muttered, gritting his teeth. He knew the battle was slipping out of their hands. The turning point. Back on Earth, the final strike was being prepared. The heart of Earth had been reactivated, its power now surging stronger than ever before. Earth's engineers had perfected the weapon's targeting system, and it was ready to strike at the Council's remaining forces. General Torres stood in the command center, watching the battle unfold on the holoscreen. "They think they're winning," she said, her voice calm but filled with certainty. "But they have no idea what's coming." With a single command, the heart unleashed a final devastating shockwave, one far more powerful than anything the Council had encountered. The wave rippled through space, tearing apart the remaining Council fleet. Their warships crumbled under the sheer force of the energy, leaving behind nothing but debris. The Council's surrender. In the aftermath of the battle, the Galactic Council had no choice but to surrender. Their fleets lay in ruins, their power shattered, and Earth stood victorious. The Council's pride had cost them everything. As the surviving Council representatives prepared to negotiate terms, Chancellor Varen stood alone in his chambers, staring out at the stars. The once proud empire had fallen, and it was all because they had underestimated humanity. "We lost because we didn't understand them," Varen whispered to himself. "Humanity wasn't like the others. We should have seen it." He once feared Galactic Council had been reduced to a shell of its former self. Their fleets were scattered, their warships lying in ruins. Earth had not only held its ground, but had driven the Council to the brink of total destruction. The Council's arrogance had led them to underestimate humanity's strength, and now they were paying the price. The Council's last hope. In the heart of the Council's remaining stronghold, Chancellor Varen knew that the end was near. The human fleet had torn through their forces with unmatched ferocity, and the heart of Earth had delivered a crushing blow to their remaining ships. The once proud empire was on the verge of collapse. "The humans have proven themselves," Varen muttered, pacing in his war room. "Their weapon is beyond anything we've ever seen. It's not just their technology, it's their spirit. They fight with a resolve that we cannot break." Admiral Lirith, standing beside him, clenched his fists in frustration. "We underestimated them from the beginning. We believed we could simply crush them. We were wrong. But there's still one last thing we can try." "What is it?" Varen asked, turning to face him. "We can offer them peace," Lirith said. "Perhaps if we surrender, they will show mercy. We must admit defeat and hope they will allow us to rebuild." Varen considered it for a moment, his mind torn between pride and the reality of their dire situation. The Council had always ruled with an iron fist, but now they had no choice but to beg for mercy from the very species they had sought to subjugate. Earth's decision. Back on Earth, General Elena Torres stood alongside Captain James Kieran as they reviewed the latest reports. Earth had decisively defeated the Galactic Council's fleets, but the war wasn't quite over. The Council had yet to surrender completely. "They're still out there," Elena said, her eyes scanning the holomap of the galaxy. "But their forces are scattered. I don't think they have the strength to fight back anymore." Kieran nodded. "We've taken everything from them. It's time to finish this once and for all." But Elena wasn't so sure. The victory had been hard-won, and while the Council had been broken, she didn't want to lose sight of the bigger picture. "We've beaten them," she said, her voice firm. "But we have to decide what kind of future we want. We can't just destroy everything in our path. There's got to be a way to end this without wiping them out completely." Kieran looked at her, his expression serious. "You're right. We've already proven ourselves. But we don't have to become like them." The Galactic Council's final offer. The Galactic Council, now desperate, sent an emissary to Earth. The message was simple: surrender and beg for mercy. The Council would offer a treaty, recognizing Earth's sovereignty and providing a place for humanity at the table of galactic diplomacy. But there was a catch. The Council still believed they could dominate Earth through political maneuvering. despite their military defeat. Elena and Karen were called to the negotiating table. Both knew the stakes. Earth had won the war, but what would they do with their victory? Would they seek revenge, or would they rise above it? "We can end this," Elena said as she sat across from the Council's emissary. "But we need to understand, there is no going back. Earth won't fall under your rule. We are free, and we will remain free." The emissary, a high-ranking Council diplomat, looked weary, but there was still a glimmer of arrogance in his eyes. "You may have won the war, but don't think you've won the peace. We are the Galactic Council. You can't simply erase us." Elena leaned forward, her eyes cold. "We don't need to erase you. We just need you to understand that Earth will never bow to you again." The Galactic Council's collapse. The negotiations continued for days, but the outcome was inevitable. The Council, having already lost its military might, was unable to maintain control over its colonies. As Earth's fleet stood ready to strike again if needed, the Council had no choice but to sign a peace treaty that granted Earth its sovereignty and demanded the withdrawal of all Council forces from human-controlled space. As the treaty was signed, the last remnants of the Galactic Council's empire crumbled. Without their military power and their once-feared fleets, they had no foundation left to stand on. They had lost the war and, ultimately, their place in the galaxy. Earth's new era. With the signing of the treaty, Earth's future was secure. The Galactic Council, once the supreme governing body of the galaxy, was no longer a threat. The human race had shown that even in the face of overwhelming odds, they could rise up, adapt, and fight back. General Elena Torres, now regarded as a hero, addressed Earth's people. This victory wasn't just about defeating an enemy. It was about proving to ourselves that we are capable of great things. We've made the galaxy take notice, and we will continue to push forward, knowing that no matter what challenges lie ahead, we will stand united and strong. Captain Karen stood beside her, his expression resolute. "This is just the beginning. Earth is no longer a pawn in the galaxy's game. We are a force to be reckoned with." The legacy of Earth's victory. As the years passed, Earth's influence grew throughout the galaxy. Their victory over the Galactic Council became a symbol of defiance and resilience, inspiring countless other species to stand up for their own freedom. The galaxy had learned a powerful lesson: never underestimate humanity. And though the war was over, Earth's journey had only just begun. Their future was bright, and they had earned their place among the stars, not through conquest or domination, but through unity, strength, and the undeniable will to survive.